So I've been wanting to tell my story from a very long time about how this all started with our shuttle bus build. And I keep talking about wanting to make videos, and I don't know how to edit and making the right thing or the right content or whatever. But the point is I have a story to share, and I'm going to share it raw and unfiltered, and here it is. Right now I'm at work, but I just thought this would be the perfect time to just share how this all started. I watch videos all the time about people's shuttle bus conversions and their stories and their content, and I'm like, I want to share my story, and you know, I keep putting it off. I'm just gonna do it. So here we are, sharing my story. So this all started a couple years ago. My wife and I had moved into an apartment right after getting married. We were paycheck to paycheck. I was like, I want to be free, I want to travel. And I'm like, well, what does that look like? So first we used to explore the options of tiny homes, actual tiny homes that came with land. And we were approved or whatever, but it was like 9.5% interest rate. And it felt confining. It didn't feel like how I wanted it to be, which was a sense of freedom. And when I say a sense of freedom, just because you live in a shuttle bus or doesn't mean it's free. It's a type of freedom that you're choosing for yourself to maybe achieve your goals and dreams. So with that being said, we moved out of our apartment. We had just gotten married. It was like 2-3 months later, and we moved into my Honda CRV car, not because we had to, but we chose to move out of our apartment and live in a car for 6 months. And we chose that because we thought we were going to go the tiny home route. And then after, we got all the paperwork and we discussed it more, it just wasn't okay. So while living in the car, we had access to, a kitchen, a shower. We were totally fine. We just were in the car while we slept. It was horrible, but we did it. So, 6 months into living into our car, we ran into someone that had a shuttle bus build. He was on the side of the road and I saw him. And I know one of the biggest things where we live in California is parking. And with the car, we found places to park, department stores, Home Depot, Lowe's. Couldn't really do, residential areas because, people might get a little weirded out. So I talked to the gentleman, and after a couple of weeks or whatever, he's like, I don't want this shuttle bus anymore. Do you guys want it? And so he sold it to us for like $1,500. This was still in my beginning explorations of the things to look for when first exploring the options of converting a vehicle. And one of the biggest things I didn't realize was rust. So we bought the bus, began to do the demolition. It was already converted, but we wanted to renovate it to our specifications, and there was so much rust. So much rust. I mean, it was flaking, the brake lines were falling apart. We took it to the mechanic. I found someone to help rebuild the complete floor. I didn't understand electrical. I didn't understand insulation. I didn't understand a lot of it. But about 6 months later, we finally get it kind of sort of built. I mean, it was livable. We lived in it for 6 months. But I mean, we were building in parking lots, Walmarts, side of the road, just building it as best we could. We weren't necessarily building it. I take that back. We built the closet and some other stuff, but we found some kind of like random people off of like, those apps that you can find where people can like help in a specific area. Like carpentry or plumbing or something like that. So we found random people to help us out as best we could. But it was hard. But we got it done and we lived in it. It was cold sometimes, and hot sometimes. The roof was leaking. I remember I had this huge oven. Not even huge, it's like that mini stove oven, thinking I could power that or it could be powered in the bus. Electric. I had no idea, but it looked nice. After 6 months, we were tired, we were beat down. We knew we wanted another bus or another option, or maybe look for a house. We ended up buying another bus, but better. And we were like, we don't want to convert it. We don't. So we looked into a company. That was a nightmare. Long story short, had to call the police to get my bus back. It was a scam. Okay. This second bus was beautiful, but we took a break. This was when Black Lives Matters was happening, riots. COVID was in full effect. So we took a break, put the bus in a RV storage park, and took a break, went back to apartment life for a year. After a year, it was towards the end of our lease. Okay, what's next for our ventures? Because my personal ventures and goals and dreams was just to travel, and not only travel, but explore more of my authenticity of what it is I wanted to do with my life. Go back to school, find another career, do something or whatever. But one of the biggest things I see that a lot of us face is having to work full time and be in school, which burns us out. Or then you got student loans, and so we started the second bus build, and we are a year and some change in right now, and I've learned so much, and it's so much better. So we started building the second bus. After a couple months, we got it livable, and then 6 months in, we were living in the bus, but still weren't done. And living in the bus, one of the biggest challenges is living in a bus and converting it at the same time. Yeah, it's so hard. What I mean when I'm looking at other people's content on YouTube, some people have these farms that they can just sprawl all out and build their bus, and they have this help, or people have shops or whatever. Everyone's situation is different, and it's not like a woe is me or look at them. It's just you have to work with what you have, and I was working with what I had. So after getting the bus livable, we moved in, did what we could while living and converting it at the same time. And after 6 months of living in it, we saw a lot of things that we could do better. But it was hard to see that at the same time of trying to fix those things and still be living in it. So we took the bus to the mechanic about a month and a half ago, just for something minor, just mass flow air valve in the mechanical part of the bus. Took it to a really good mechanic. Oh, that's another story. With the same bus, we took it to another mechanic, and there's a whole thing there, thousands of dollars later. Anywho, back to current. Took the bus to the mechanic, was only there for like a week and a half, got the issue fixed, but we were staying in a hotel at the time while the bus was in the mechanic. And I'm like, hey, my wife and I talked about it, and we're like, this would be a really good time, if we can financially, to stay in the hotel and finish building the bus and not live at the same time. So that's what we're doing right now. We're still at a hotel, and we are going back and fixing a lot of the things that are small details that you really shouldn't look over. So for the electrical, we ran wires, but we never put the wires in conduit. Mounting the propane tank, fixing all the leaks in the roof of the bus, taking down all the insulation that we had put in before the second time, and now the third time. Insulation is so important. The right insulation is so important. Anywho, so some of the things that we corrected and fixed was, we had a water heater before, a propane water heater, but we didn't pick the right one because where we had put it was actually didn't give it enough space for ventilation. So we put in a new water heater. We mounted a propane tank, which is essential for our gas oven and water heater. So the propane tank, right? I get the propane tank and it's white, and I'm like, okay, we should spray paint it black because I want it to match with everything else. You don't spray a propane tank with black paint. Let me give this as a warning, disclaimer, email, phone mail, TikTok message. You don't spray paint a propane tank black. Anywho, lesson learned. So we spray painted the propane tank black took it back off after I realized that is not okay. That is very dangerous. Like I said, we already did the R13, fixed the leaks, had to take up the subfloor in order to mount the propane tank to put these metal rods through the floor to bolt down. What else did we do? So many things, just so many. We finally put the flooring down. I finally made a hole for the sink, reattached all of the plumbing back. So basically finishing stuff we never finished the first time, but also improving again what we could see while living in there that just really needs to be taken care of. So every day we're working on this bus. I go to work, after work I go work on the bus, turn around, rinse, wash, rinse, repeat. The goal is the end of April, so that's 3 more weeks. Yeah, I think we can do it, because what we're literally, the hard part that really needed the bus completely empty is now complete, which was the electrical, plumbing, and propane install. That's all been complete. Now we have everything built. We have our cabinets, we have our booth, we have our electrical. We just are literally putting everything back together. And then the one major thing is the shower. We gotta, like, waterproof that. But anywho, I'm excited, I'm focused, and anything worth having, gotta fight for it or work for it, or yeah. So stay tuned.